You know something? When you learn, you got to think. If you don't think, you're just in that groove. And you know, say every year in, year out, you're repeating the same thing. But sometimes you take a few steps back and you think about things, then all of a sudden you notice other things which you normally don't notice. Okay. Okay, we left off. Bays. We left off Bays on page 191. Halacha Bays, Samach Bays, Bays. Yochel Karoso B'cholosho. One is able to say the creation in any language. We'll see. But he has to understand that language. You have to understand that language. A person says it and he doesn't understand English, although he can read English or French, he doesn't understand it. You're not Yosef. Understand the words, Yosef. As long as conceptually you understand, I'm accepting the dominion of Hashem upon myself. Because Hebrew, the Gemara said, Hebrew, the word means what you're saying. English or any other language, it was a consensus among people that this word means whatever it means. But it's not innately in the word that the word means that. That's the difference between the Hebrew language and any other language. There's the famous Chaim Volozhna in Nefesh Chaim we've learned. It says, Odom called all the living species by name, called them Shemos. And then he realized he has no Ezer, he has no mate, right? First called them names, he called them Shemos, then he realized he has no mate. That's when Hashem created Chava. Well, what's the whole idea of calling them names? He just labeled them. So the Nefesh Chaim says, he called the eagle Nesher. If you understand what lies within the word Nesher, the word Nesher contains that every aspect of the eagle, its physical, its purpose, it alludes and contained in that word is the full understanding of what the eagle is. In the physical sense, the spiritual aspect of it, its purpose in the scheme of existence, that's the meaning of the word Nesher. It's not just a bird that has wings, so we're coming up with some kind of word which identifies it as that. So it's something innate in the word. So when you say Kriya Shema in Lashon HaKodesh in Hebrew, it encompasses the totality of what you're saying. So whether you fully understand the word or even if you don't understand whatsoever, as long as conceptually you understand what you're saying in terms of what am I accepting by saying these words, that's sufficient.
So that sounds like it'd be contrary to what you're saying here. Because here we're saying that...
I'm not saying the first pasuk. We'll see.
You're translating, you miss everything.
He says, but if you say it in another language, you have to pronounce the words correctly. He said Hebrew, even if you slur it to sloppy, b'diavad yotze. As long as he said the word, where the word doesn't mean something else. But if you say it in another language, you have to articulate it as the word is pronounced. K'mo b'Lashon HaKodesh. 1 second. And you should actually be as meticulous as if you would say it in Hebrew in terms of pronunciation. Okay, we'll see. Let's see. Beis b'Choloshen. So Rashi says, Mishnah Berurah, Dafke shemei b'Choloshen. You have to understand that language. V'u'adim b'tefillah. Same thing, Shmon Esrei. You say Shmon Esrei in another language, you have to understand the language. Ubirchas hamozon, ubikidush, ubirchas hamitzvos, laperos, lahalil. See Beur Halakha. V'chol ze mitzad hadin. That is what that. If you don't, it actually it prevents you from fulfilling the mitzvah. Even if you understand English perfectly, and it's a choice saying it in Lashon HaKodesh or in English, it's mitzvah milchor. It's optim to say it in. It's preferable to say it in Lashon HaKodesh, because Hebrew is God's language. And besides that, when you say the word contains many other things. Anything. Even if you say something in Hebrew, which means you understand the language, you do understand. Even though you understand the other language better, But you could make it through in Hebrew. Hebrew has greater value, but it's even more so. Chayei Adam cites the Gemara in Yom. It says that the Ashkenazi Jews, they authored the Shemona Esrei. And then it says, the common Nevim hoyu beineim. Among the authors, a number of them were prophets. Chagish Zcharim Malachi, they were there. They were part of the group who authored the Shemona Esrei. So the Chayei Adam asks, what did you have to have Nevim? If you're great Tanoim, or whatever classification they were, that's sufficient. What do you common Nevim hoyu beineim? That's what Chayei Adam's question. What do you need prophets? That they should be part of the body who actually chose the text of the Shemona Esrei, the choice of words. So he explains that even if a person has no kavanah whatsoever in Shemona Esrei, as long as you know you stand before God and you just understand the simple understanding of the word, sufficient. And you stand with reverence, you will have a response no less than having in mind kavanah sarizah. Why? He says because when he brought those words, the word itself is linked to certain energies. And when you say that word, it activates forces. But how do you know what forces it activates? Because they were prophets. Because the prophet has an understanding of all the inner workings of existence because he's a prophet. So the words they chose were words. You could choose 6 other words for that same word, but why did they choose that word? Because that word activates that energy, that force, and other words would not activate that force.
Why do you need to answer the
Why
prophets?
Because there were 3 of them. There were 3 of them. I understand. I'm just saying, because the 2 aspects. Doesn't mean a prophet is a greater Talmud Chacham than the other people. Each one has his area of expertise. Their expertise is, if we want to activate something, which word should we choose? So this is the word you choose. But in the understanding of the value and what we want to communicate, that's not Ashkenazi Jews. You need the whole body of people in terms of understand what we're trying to accomplish here. So therefore he says, and not only that, every conceivable need of Klal Yisrael from then till the end of time is included within that text of the Shemona Esrei. Although things change over the millennia, it doesn't make a difference. Because the Rukama, Nevim hoyu beineim, they already foresaw the future, and the words were chosen that any conceivable need of Klal Yisrael till the end of time is contained within the words of the Shemona Esrei. So now you understand why it's atom to say the Shemona Esrei in Lashon HaKodesh. Any other language, all you're doing is it's just a semblance of what the word is. But what lies within the word, we're talking about endless value is in the Hebrew, which doesn't exist in any other language. Why don't you? I'll ask you a better question. Why did you wear a character? What does one have to do with another?
If the word's supposed to mean something, is it that the Masorah got to?
Exactly.
So, Rabbi, when the requests are inserted, or we make our own personal requests, either in Shema Koleno or at the end of Shemona Esrei, before we step out. So I know when I do it, I don't do it in Hebrew, I do it in English.
There it does make a difference.
Is it a chutzpah? I mean,
No, it's not
I have any more...
No. You're supposed to. That's where you're supposed to make the request. We'll see later. If it's a lengthy request, if you're making a lengthy request, you hold it off till the end of Shemona Esrei. If it's something which is very abbreviated, you can say Nishma Koleno, but it's only if it's a great need. Yeah? Like even if you have a paragraph for tshuva or for other things, right? You say Nishma Koleno.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
No.
Or it's not answer, but it's not everything is practically covered in there. You just don't realize it's contained within the word.
Okay.
I don't know. That
Seems to be not that way.
The personal request was request. How it was included in the structure of the Torah. The personal ones, I would have thought. I mean, you make your own personal bills because that's your own, and everything else is what's needed for Klal.
we say refrain, right?
Right.
So you ask if everybody should be healed.
Right.
But additionally, you do mention names.
That's what I'm saying. The refrain was for the whole policy. So then, if you need your own, you say it separately. Otherwise, you're very safe.
You know, the Sodar Shosha Avoda, based on the Zohar, says that before you say the Shemon Esrei, you should have in mind it's based on the Zohar. See, Al's an expert in Arizona. Okay, I'm not. Okay. So it's based on the Zohar. Why? Because the Shemon Esrei said it in plural. It's not said in singular. So when we pray for everybody. So you have to set that mindset in place. I'm not here only for myself, I'm here for everybody. So you think of the mitzvah after Orach Chayim, that's the predicate to Shemon Esrei on that. Because you're entering into as I said, it's in plural, not singular. The Shemon Esrei.
Now, but for instance, we're talking about now, so the kinos of selichos, those pairs, at least for me, the Hebrew is very difficult to learn. And then even the English translation.
First, all that was written by the Heitev. We showed them. But they were Mekubalim. They were all Mekubalim. All these people who wrote that liturgy.
We fly through they're very difficult, even in English translation, to understand. And you have to really sit over it. You can't just,
Okay. It's not the end of the world. If you don't, you say as much as you can, and that's it.
So it's okay if it's read in English.
Definitely, not a question. Kein kos v'abach sim kupsari gimel. That it's a mitzvah in the Mufchar to say things, even though you could be yotzi in another language, but say in Lashon HaKodesh. You know, the Ramban, in his introduction to Chumash, David, when you studied the Ramban, right? Okay. See, I needed the commentary on that one. So he writes, why is the Hebrew language called Lashon HaKodesh? It's called the Holy Tongue, not called Ivrit. No, the world called us Hebrews. Right? Hashem called us Bnei Yisrael. It's called Lashon HaKodesh. Why it's called the Holy Tongue? Because it's the language of God. Because God created the world in Hebrew. That's His language. So therefore, when you speak, when you daven or say things in Hebrew, it has a whole different degree of value. Lashon verses. That's what's mitzvah and mufchar. Besides what I said in the name of Orach Chayim Lashon. Let's see. The person says God Almighty. Right? Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Innately, it's called Shem Meforish. That is the name of God. It has many levels. Midas Harachman Hoyehoviv is the infinite aspect of God. Right? Each name of Hashem, each appellation is alluding to God's relationship to this existence. So, and the Shem is saying they're unpronounceable names. So could G-D, could that be the equivalent of saying it in Hebrew? And there's no comparison what it is. So therefore, of course, you should say it in Lashon HaKodesh in Hebrew. Acharonim, the main up. There are many Hebrew words which are not, we don't know the true translation, so you can't translate them to the other language. It's like paraphrasing at best. Gotevis v'shinantom. Yesh bo kame biurim, right? The word v'shinantom. They should be chadudim, the shinun, sharp. Echad loshen limud, echad loshen chidud, k'moshem chazal she'imdu b'chudodim b'ficho. That if anybody asks you a question, you should be able to respond immediately, without any degree of hesitation. Shem yishal v'odom dova al tigamdeim, v'tomalo. You hear this? Now, somebody has the word, don't stammer. Okay? You know what word stammer in the Hebrew. You know what shtum means? Shtum. What's shtum? Shtum is mute. Not quite. Don't stammer. You know, the person's mute. It means you have to respond. S. What does it mean S? S is an adjunct alluding to certain things. Tevas letotofos. Frontlets. Totofos means something else. I mean, we can have. Tat Afriki, Shtayim, Kafri, it's Shtayim. That's how that alludes to the full compartment of the tefillah. That's Totofos. Am Shelo Korem Shema B'Loshen HaKodesh, Chem B'Tfil B'Chsamos Kiddush Shaar Brachos, Film Eino Mevin Haloshen, even if you don't understand the language. Yotzo, there's Eino Motzish Bein Yisrael Lo Yeda Beer HaPosuk Rishon should be Kriya Shema. Yeah, this is very important. This is the first pasuk. It's remote that you're not going to find a Jew who doesn't know the meaning of the first pasuk Kriya Shema. So we fall in planning since then. It was unheard of. Shekavoni will ikuva, because the first pasuk, if you don't focus on what the meaning of the words in that yotze. Chalosh kosim sim samach gimel sim dalit. No, years ago, I grew up. We would say it's as easy as Ashrei. No child didn't know Ashrei by heart. Everybody knew Ashrei today. How many people know Ashrei? Right? Okay? Say, he says it's unheard of that no Jew shouldn't know the meaning of the first pasuk in Kriya Shema. No Jews who died on Kiddush Hashem